Oh, motherfucker, you can't have my cornbread. That's for damn sure. Because if you try to take my cornbread, part 2 of my killing spree gonna begin up in here on your ass right now. If you think about my cornbread, get the taste out your mouth, that's for damn sure. Now, fuck him. Fuck that. Because I'm from New York City, goddammit. Nobody take no cornbread from me. That goes for you and any other you motherfucking farmers wanna try some shit. You fuck around with me, it's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
Haters gonna hate, and ain'ters gonna ain't.
That is not an actual thing people say.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Maestro Styles, Trey Frazier. Welcome to another episode of the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. We appreciate any first-time listeners. Shout out to the first-time listeners, and shout out to our A1 Day Ones. Real quick, follow us on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. You can follow me at Maestro Styles. You can follow Trey at Trey Frazier. On Twitter, you can follow me at Maestro Styles. You can follow Trey at Barbershop SPOR2. Make sure you like the Facebook page and subscribe to the YouTube page. Trey, what's going on, man?
Man, I'm feeling great. I'm happy we're doing this show this week, man. I'm ready to get this thing rolling. But before we do that, I just want to send my condolences to the person that died in that gas explosion up in Baltimore yesterday. 5 other houses all damaged because of the gas explosion. You had other homes on the same block have damage to their windows, doors, and, structure and all that other stuff. And so you got a lot of people displaced right now, and we could certainly, those folks could certainly use a helping hand for food, water, money, whatever. And, I just want to send that love out to those folks that were affected by that gas explosion yesterday. So, but I'm ready to get this joint started, man. What's good with you, man? How the week been?
Yeah, real quick, while we doing those, there was a mass shooting in Southeast DC over the weekend as well.
I heard about that.
Yeah, so condolences to all those. And this has been a wild summer in DC as far as violence, gun violence. So prayers and this we definitely gotta chill. We gotta chill on this gun violence out here. That let me also say. Condolences and prayers to there's been some bombings overseas. I don't have every country specifically, but
Beirut was one of them.
Right. But condolences and prayers to everybody overseas. And on a positive note, my baby turned 10 over the weekend. So
happy birthday, Kamaya.
10 years old.
Milestone.
Man, look. This nigga got a training bra on, bro. I don't know what's going on in my life.
Oh man!
Yeah.
Oh, here it go.
Yeah. So, I'm definitely gonna take this gun thing a little more seriously. While I'm talking about no gun violence, but I'm definitely gonna take my gun training a little more serious in the next couple of years, because it's
man, all for protection.
Yeah,
it's only for protection.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah, man. So, without further ado, man, we can go ahead and get started. Where you want to start?
What's funny? So, just so the listeners understand, so Maestro texts me the title of the episode before we go live, because he operates the show from his crib, and so when I got the text, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I'm curious as to where he wants to go with this. So at first I was thinking about DeAndre Baker, and then I was like, well, no, he didn't get a DUI. That dude's actually getting charged for robbery and assault, I think.
Right.
And then I thought about Derrius Guice, and I'm like, no, that's not him either. He got cut from the Washington team after turning himself in for a domestic violence dispute. So I'm like, all right, I'm interested to see where this title is, kind of heading. Where was you trying to hit with that title, Maestro?
So the title is a 0.0 DUI for I'm sure everybody, if you're listening, you know the title of the episode. Defensive. Wow, the same episode where we were reporting on DeAndre Baker and Quentin Dunbar. There was a guy by the name of Ed Oliver, a defensive lineman. Are you familiar?
Buffalo Bills, right?
Buffalo Bills defensive lineman Ed Oliver, who was charged with a DUI. He came out over the last week. I'm trying to find it. I thought I saved it, but apparently I did not. I'm trying to find his exact quote. But basically, in paraphrasing what he said, is that he got a DUI and his breathalyzer read 0.0.
Okay. So is he trying to absolve himself?
Well,
or
he's trying to say, how do you can't I can't speak for where he is in the world. I know last I checked, because I haven't been pulled over, but last I checked it was a 0.8 in the DMV area. There is nowhere in the world where a 0.0 cites you for DUI. A 0.0 says emphatically that you haven't been drinking. So how does Ed Oliver get a DUI?
That's interesting. I wish I had more information on that. So he tweeted that.
He put
and said,
I don't know where I know it. Well, I saw it on Bleacher Report's Instagram. So, and I was like, ooh. And one thing me and you got to get better on is I'll speak for myself. When I see stuff like that, I need to get back to posting stuff like that, because I'll forget, to go and do the research, blah, blah, blah. And, but to the headline, he is disputing that he got a DUI and he wasn't even drinking. And he has the breathalyzer results to prove that he wasn't drinking, but he got a DUI anyway. So in today's climate, if what he's saying is true, why in the hell did he get a DUI?
So this happened months ago, right? Because I remember his name. I remember talking about the DeAndre Baker stuff months ago, and a few other cats that gotten into some, disputes with the law. He was a part of that, I guess, storyline. So this is a breathalyzer test he took from months ago when he got pulled over. Is that correct?
That's correct. Whenever, I don't think it was months. Whenever the DeAndre Baker story hit, obviously he was with Quentin Dunbar too. So whenever that story hit, the Ed Oliver had hit in the same situation. We did a little mini segment about all these players, and we even spoke about why are all these players getting in trouble all of a sudden, and obviously people are not having a lot to do with this pandemic going on. Like, that was the conversation we were having. Come to find out that this guy's saying that he wasn't drunk at all, and he has the receipts, so to speak.
Okay. Well, Ed Oliver, if you got the receipt, man, then you better file a complaint to wherever he was at. I don't think he was in Buffalo. I think he was someplace in his hometown. I don't remember where that exactly is, but I would file a grievance against law enforcement if that is the case.
Well, and then more than that, that means he was arrested. And let me stop. Let me read briefly. I'm not gonna read. Obviously, not gonna read the whole entire article, but this is what the ESPN article. The headline reads, Bills Ed Oliver says he feels violated by unwarranted arrest. Bills defensive tackle Ed Oliver said he felt violated when he was arrested in May on DUI and weapons charges that were eventually dropped. He said the arrest in May didn't feel right at the time, and it still doesn't sit right with him after all related charges were dropped last month. Second-year defensive tackle and was arrested in Montgomery County, Texas on May 17th and charged with a DWI. I'm sorry. I thought it said DUI. I think his quote was DUI, but DWI and unlawful possession of a firearm after after the police pulled him over under suspicion of impaired driving. However, Oliver said the arresting officers took him in even after he passed the breathalyzer test. His quote is, I'm not sure how you get arrested with nothing in your system, Oliver said. That's one of the things I'm talking about when I say life can hit you quick, even if you're innocent. You can still go to jail for nothing. You've just got to do what you've got to do. If they say you've got to go to jail, don't resist, go to jail. It's not right, but it is what it is.
So I got a question, and I'm speaking from inexperience. I've never been pulled over as far as being suspected of drinking or have taken a breath. Say it again?
I said neither have I, by the way.
And I've never taken a breathalyzer test. So I'm wondering, when these guys get pulled over and the law takes out the breathalyzer test, they test these guys and these results show, do these guys get to see the results even in their impaired state, whether they're impaired or not? Do they get to see these results by these police officers, or do they just say, hey, we got your results and you were 0.8, you got to come with us? Like, I'm just wondering, because the story just sounds so weird to me, and I'm not saying that it's weird in the sense that Ed Oliver is lying. I do believe he's telling the truth about his breathalyzer test being what it is. I'm just wondering, how the hell did he get to this point in terms of being cuffed and being brought in or being issued the DUI? How does that happen when the results show what they are, and yet you still get taken in for DUI?
I got 2 words for you, Trey. Systematic oppression. If everything he's alleging is correct, the story goes on to say, Oliver said he blew a 0% on his breathalyzer test May 17th, but officers still believed he was impaired. He said he took an independent blood test following his arrest and knew he didn't have anything in his system, but still had to wait for the legal process to play out. Before he was able to take that independent test, he was taken to jail, given a jumpsuit with holes in it, and locked in a cell.
Man, Ed Oliver, go file a grievance, man. You got a beef to take up with some people.
And it's no coincidence anymore, and they put this in the article, 8 days after his arrest, George Floyd died at the hands of Minneapolis police. Look, man. Look, man. Nah, bruh. Montgomery County, Texas police.
Thank you, because I was about to find out exactly where he was when he got pulled over. Montgomery County, Texas.
They need to be called to the carpet.
Yeah.
And it's much like I've been saying, these guys that are in the streets protesting is just not over. I think in Ed Oliver's case, sir, you have a lot of money. You have the resources to gain a platform. I would suggest that you start gaining a platform quickly to mobilize or at least to protest, because I wouldn't
mind if he just said, look, I'm opting out of this season so that I can go ahead and fight this case that I was wrongfully accused of, because I got my receipts showing that I was below, I was below the alcohol limit.
I wasn't even drinking.
0.0.
Yeah, I wasn't even drinking.
I gotta fight this.
Yeah. I don't think he has to, not get paid to fight this case, but he definitely needs to. He definitely needs to make a stand. I don't mean need, because if he feels like, whatever his process is, that's fine for him. That's fine with me because it's his personal situation. But at the same time, these are one of them things where it's like what are we doing? What are we doing? Because we've gained so much. Like even, and this comes to a deeper conversation, and I don't want to deviate from sports at least for too long. Breonna Taylor's killers are still out there. There are a lot of I won't say unsolved mysteries, but there are a lot of police officers and oppressive people who are still going free out here after committing crimes to black people. And this is just another why this isn't a murder. This is certainly mistreatment at the least. And these guys need to start paying the consequences for committing crimes. They're not above the law just because they enforce it. And we need to keep that light shining.
Yeah, I think the fact that ESPN has this article about it, and I'm sure other outlets have posted a story about this, shows that the awareness is out there. Good on the part of ESPN and other outlets, and good more importantly on Ed Oliver's part. But I think this just continues to be an issue. I mean, I get this happened right before George Floyd, but this stuff been happening to us for a long, long time. And even after the fact of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and the other cat at the Wendy's,
people,
and rest in peace. This still continues to be an issue, and I suspect, and I don't want to go off tangent here, but I've been watching these games, and that's cool and all that, but I don't feel like the message. And even though Black Lives Matter is on the court, the NHL has got Skating for Black Lives on their logo and all that stuff. For some reason, I get the sense that the message is starting to dry off a little bit. Like, I'm getting that sense, and it's like, hold on.
And not to cut you off, but because the next steps, to those who are even aware of what the next steps are, those next steps require uncomfortable work, and and not only uncomfortable work, but uncomfortable work for a long time. And some people are just cool with the Black Lives Matter on the court. Yeah,
and it ain't enough for me. It's not even close.
Yeah, but then we have to ask each other, and I won't ask you. I'll ask you rhetorically more so. What is the next step? How do we mobilize? How do we what's the strategy? You know what I'm saying?
Good point.
Good
point. And maybe Kyrie was onto something. Maybe Dwight was onto something when they were talking before they got these games going. They wanted to devote some more time towards putting this message out there and actually putting the boots to the ground to make sure that these things get done, whether it was reform, whether it's changing laws, whether it's stuff that's what's the word? Stuff that actually is going to be taken towards action. Maybe they were onto something, and I'm starting to sense that this message is starting to fade off a little bit. As we get deeper into which, God, it don't even feel like summer or the end of summer anyway. This 2020 has been real crazy, but as we get deeper into August, it just seems like the storylines have just been kind of wearing off. The protests, you don't see many protests on TV, even though I know that there's still some folks out there, fighting the good fight. Like in Portland, they're still, doing a whole lot of walking the streets and all that stuff. But we need to find a way to get back to that, man. Like every city in the country, we need to get back to what it was immediately after George Floyd's death. I mean, you're talking 18 straight days of every city in this country coming together and bringing the awareness like we've never seen it before.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but the problem is, and kind of segueing, what happens? Dwight Howard, is not going to play, or Kyrie Irving is not going to play. But according to Deion Sanders, the game is going to go on without you anyway. The game is going to go on, and
yeah, that's a fact. That is a fact.
So it's like, what are the, again? I asked the question: what are the next steps? What are the moves? Because we Kyrie Irving's not going to play, and Dwight Howard's not going to play, and several other NFL players are not going to play because of COVID-19 and all these things. But what does that outside? And I won't speak specifically to COVID-19 for this point, but what are the next steps? What's going to happen? Because if you're just missing a paycheck to stand around and have a whole bunch of conversations, that's cool. But you could have did that after the game and still got paid. So did you hear about Deion Sanders' comments?
Yes, I saw his tweet. So did he leave NFL Network? Because I think I heard somebody say that he was. Okay, because I don't remember if it was RC or somebody in one of our group chats that said that he was leaving NFL Network, and so I understand what he's saying. It's actually factual. That he's saying that. I think the way he said it triggered a lot of ears, which I totally understand. Also, I don't understand what his motive was, or what his point to driving that was. But I think players have the right to opt out during this pandemic. I do think, and we talked about this briefly last week, I think it's ass backwards that the NFL put a deadline for players to opt out, especially when these guys don't have guaranteed contracts. You've got these other sports with guaranteed contracts, and like in baseball, guaranteed contracts. You got guys opting out in the middle of the season right now. You know what I mean? Like, I think an NFL player should have the right to do that. If this season somehow, which I do think it'll start, but I think they're going to have some problems. But they should have the right to opt out if they feel like there's some unsafe conditions within the game that are taking place. I'm gonna find out what's going on with Deion though, because that comment about him leaving NFL Network has kind of had me, curious now.
Did you have a problem with his comments?
I don't have a problem with his comment, and again, it's truth to it. Game's gonna go on. The billionaires are still going to make their bread. The coaches are still going to coach, make their bread. And the players who haven't opted out and are deciding to play, they're going to get their money. And they just got to hope for the best that, this thing doesn't get all crazy. As for the players who have opted out, more power to you. We understand that you have to do what's best for your family. We understand that players have newborns coming into this world, so they want to protect those newborns. We understand that guys have elder parents who may be more susceptible to COVID-19 and maybe don't have no other way of getting care, and that player may be the only source of care for these parents. So I get it 100% on their part.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have no problem with what he said. He's telling the truth, and even if it's delivered wrong, if that's what people want to say, it's the truth. And I ain't gonna hate on a nigga for telling the truth. Let me say what's up to Jordan Rosario, keeping it 100. What's going on? Po politicking. We see you. What's going on? What's going on with you? Derrius Guice is released. We'll make it short. Derrius Guice is released from the Washington football team after being arrested on domestic charges. Allegedly, this dude choked a woman out until he thought she died, and was like, and was like, you know, standing by her side like, oh shit, did I kill her? Don't die, that type of thing. Listen here, man. I don't know what happened. Don't really care. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Any dude that could get to that point where he choking a woman out to that extent, you should be thrown under the jail, bro. You need to sit down for a second.
You got it. Yeah, you deserve it. You deserve to get. You deserve to get cut. You deserve to turn yourself in, and whatever they throw at you, in regards to this, if it's found to be true, then you got to sit this one out, man.
Well, I'm gonna, and you're right if it's true, but I'm gonna go ahead and I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna go ahead and jump the gun and say that he did it. And
damn,
I look,
damn, my nigga.
For him, he turned himself in. The story is that he choked her to the point where he thought she lost consciousness.
It's bad.
Yeah, you know.
It's
and
bad.
And let's be clear: if something comes out and he didn't do it, I gladly apologize. But he did that shit, and he got what's coming to him for certain.
Wasn't this the guy that I kept hearing his name over the last maybe couple seasons?
He's been injured.
Been injured a lot. Had a lot of promise from what Redskins fans was telling me.
Yeah, from LSU.
Right.
Yeah. He was a beast in college. He was supposed to be their starting running back, and everybody was excited about him. And he just never panned out because of injury. I think I don't know if he's played. I don't know if he's played 10 games as a football team player.
I was gonna say he's definitely not played a full season up to this point.
For certain.
Yeah,
I'm talking about like in because I think he's like a second or third year guy, maybe a fourth
third
year
year.
Guy. Okay, yeah. I don't know that he's put together 10 games in 3 years or 2 years or how his time. I don't know that he's put together 10 games, meaning played.
I believe that's
snap.
I believe that's accurate. I believe that's accurate. Yep.
So, it's a shame that he's caught in that situation, even though he put himself there. So, let's just hope he get himself rehabilitated. And one thing about the NFL, if you have potential or skill, you can get a job. So whether you choke out somebody or not. So let's hope he get himself rehabilitated, get himself right, get himself out of that toxic situation, and find himself a football team so he can get back to getting his money. But that's some bitch ass shit. But that's some bitch ass shit. And let me be very clear about that.
Oh yeah. It's terrible. The story's terrible.
Yeah. You got anything? What you want? You got anything?
Yeah. Since we're kind of on this line of guys, with the law and everything, I'll circle back to the DeAndre Baker stuff. That broke out a few months back. It was him and Quentin Dunbar of the Seahawks that was involved, and so now we get to this point. And now the charges are coming down on this guy. So it's 4 counts of burglary, assault, I believe, and something else. I can't remember exactly what the other charge was, but 4 counts of all that stuff. And I think it's safe to say that the Giants, if they haven't parted ways with him now, it's going to be inevitable that that's exactly what's going to happen. This was a second-year corner, I believe. I believe he was drafted the previous year.
Yep.
Got some burn last year, and now, all up in this situation, and it doesn't look good, bruh. It doesn't look good. He could face up to 10 years in prison, almost to anywhere from that to about 20 to life, which I think is a bit excessive, given what they're just throwing at us as far as the burglary, and we don't know the details of the burglary, but if you're just throwing a general it's burglary thing, then I think to give a guy a life sentence is a bit much. But I think the most interesting thing about this story is that Quentin Dunbar, who I guess allegedly was with him, is not being charged at all. So I'm just wondering, did Quentin Dunbar snitch on this cat? Yeah. I'm seriously thinking, Quentin Dunbar gave him up. and was like, "Nah, man, I need my money, man. I got we in a pandemic. I need my bread, bro."
Yeah, I don't know. I'll read up on it. I'll try to read up on it. When I saw it, I was just like, oh, all right, well, it looked bad when it was announced, when it was reported. So,
yeah, months ago. Yeah,
it looked bad then. It damn sure, and I spoke to in both of their cases. I thought for certain that Quentin Dunbar's career was done. Not because he wasn't a good player, but he wasn't a good enough player for anybody to feel like, ooh, let's hold on to him and wait
right.
it out.
It was desperate, like a team was desperate.
We're not talking about like a top 25 corner in the league, I don't think, in Quentin Dunbar. So it's not like a guy where it's like, ooh, we definitely need to, try to wait this out because we're going to need him, as far as playing football. DeAndre Baker, who was going into his second year, he's he was a high prospect coming in, you know what I'm saying? That's a guy you might want to try to wait on, but if these charges are going to stick, obviously, that's a done deal.
Yeah. Man, that's sad, man. That's sad. Cat was 20, 21 years old.
Yeah, so sad. But you gotta, I don't know the extent as to why, but I will say this. You can't do it.
You can't do it. And I hope he gets an opportunity to learn from this. And, whatever the situation turns out to be, I just hope he deals with it. Nothing happened to him. If he's got to do jail time, nothing happens to him in prison. Get out, start your life over. It might not be in football, might be in something else, but I hope he gets to that redemption part of his life.
That's a fact.
So since we're sticking to football, it was announced yesterday and today the Big Ten Conference is postponing their football season, and the Pac-12 came out today and said not just football, but all of their fall sports will be postponed all the way through the end of 2020. Yeah. And they'll just, figure out what they want to do in 2021. So your reaction to all this, because obviously these are two of the 5 big time conferences that are trying to find a way to play football, and logic says that it's just impossible given you got students who aren't represented by any kind of players association or anything like that. The coaches aren't really going to bat for them as much, and the NCAA is just like, yo, we don't want to make the decision. Let the individual conferences, handle that. If they want to do in-conference play, let them do it. If they want to play with Army and Navy, let them, negotiate that. It seems like NCAA just don't want no smoke in terms of deciding, hey, are we playing football? Are we playing college sports for the rest of the year, or are we not?
Well, they shouldn't be playing college sports, much like nobody, in my opinion, should be playing sports. That that's the point that I've been driving home for months now, and I'll stick to it. I'll watch it if it's on the television. I like to watch basketball. I like to watch a little football down there. So I'll watch it if it's on TV. But they shouldn't be out here. They shouldn't be out here playing football. So kudos to the Big Ten. Kudos to the Pac-12. And of course the NCAA wouldn't want that responsibility. And, obviously if it was up to them, I would have guessed that they'd be trying to figure out how to make it happen, because now we're talking about income. And, nobody wants to lose out on income.
Of course.
They would rather that those divisions or those conferences to be the scapegoat than the NCAA themselves being the scapegoat. An interesting thought I had, though, is that if a conference decides to play, if it's, whatever the MEAC or whoever, whatever conference decides to play, if that happens, which I hope it doesn't, there's a couple teams that's looking at a a straight shot to the title, right?
Yeah, and
or does it even work?
I guess
like that?
and I guess like the NBA and the NHL and baseball, whoever wins the chip, there's going to be this quote unquote this asterisk. I think if one of these conferences gets going, whoever wins the chip, there's going to be that proverbial asterisk next to it. But if I'm a fan of one of those teams, I care. My team won the championship if it was my team. But I just think around media circles and talking heads, I think when we look back at 2020 for not just college football, for all these leagues, we're going to look at 2020 and say, man, it was an interesting year. It was a crazy year. These teams won titles, but, under some, different circumstances.
Well, whether it's an asterisk on it or not, whatever college team wins the championship, if that's even possible, whatever team wins the championship, they're going to have a rise in the economic department. They're going to have some money coming in because they won the title under whatever circumstance. So with that being said, there's your selfish reason if you're one of those conferences that decide they want to play, particularly the smaller conferences, the ones that normally never have a shot at even being in a tournament or being in that bubble in January and February, no pun intended.
And not to cut you off, but most of those smaller conferences have already declared they're not playing any football.
I'm just speaking to anybody. I'm just speaking to anybody who hasn't officially declared it. I just said MEAC because that's the only conference I could think of. But to anybody who decided to play, which again I don't think anybody's going to play, but if anybody who decided to play, I would assume, and this is just me going on a tangent, that they have a pretty easy road to winning a championship. And if that were the case, they would take backlash from it 100%, but they would have a championship to parade around and have income opportunities. And that is a selfish way to think about it, but if the NCAA allowed it, that would be the case.
That's true. It gives these smaller schools an opportunity for exposure for certain, and not just financial wise, but if guys or kids out of high school are looking at these games and, they might say, oh, that team had a pretty, decent season under these circumstances. Maybe I want to try that school out. Kind of like what we're seeing with basketball, where now you got the top guys going to HBCUs. Maybe some of that transforms with football, where you get these smaller football schools, i.e. a Grambling State, which is a HBCU, by the way, Alcorn State, some of these other smaller schools, a George Mason, just to kind of throw something, off the cuff there. Maybe one of these teams finds a way to a championship. Now, it's going to depend on how many conferences decide to play. And I think once they figure that out, I guess they'll figure, okay, we'll play this amount of games, we'll play this team, we'll play that team. And then, however they want to configure it, because, all the other sports with their playoff formats, they've altered it. So football in college is going to have the same thing if they go that route.
Right. Yeah, but let me be clear. Nobody should be playing football. And I mean...
specifically for me, college, because if you're not allowing kids to come back on campus to do in-house classes, everybody's doing online learning this fall, then how could you allow your student athletes to come to the facility and work out and eventually prep for a game?
Same way they doing it in the NFL. Same way they. I be honest, and it's funny you say that, because when I go on my afternoon jogs, there are teams out there practicing. And I get that they're not college caliber or even high school caliber. They're like what do you call it, semi-pro. But they're out there. They're out there practicing as if they have games to play. I don't know what they're doing and what they're as far as are they going to play games? Yeah, no, but they're out there practicing pretty much any day I go out there to jog in the afternoon. They're out there practicing. So, if it can be done. Again, I'd be against it, but it could definitely be done.
Yeah, I mean, and to your point, I've seen some of the same things around here. Guys are practicing, their parents to these kids coming out to watch their kids practice, and they're practicing social distancing. It's not like these guys are all bunched up together. They're actually spreading these guys out, and they're taking drills, they're practicing and things like that. And I don't know if it's like they're preparing for an actual season, or maybe they're just out there just to get some sun. It could just be that. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're preparing for an upcoming season. So I just be mindful of that. But I ain't gonna hold you. The SEC, not to pick on one of these conferences, but the SEC in particular, man, because these schools are in these hotspot states. Alabama, Georgia. Tennessee, and Tennessee not so much, but like Florida, Georgia, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like y'all been the hot spot states, and y'all niggas still trying to play football.
Yeah. Like
y'all should be more into the statistics and the information than any other conference, really. Like the SEC should be at the top of the list in terms of, okay, what are the doctors saying? What's the science on this? Mm-hmm. What can we do? It don't seem like the SEC is on that boat right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, nobody should be playing football. Again, I don't have no deep dive into that. Nobody should be playing fucking football.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even have a way. They don't even. I'm sorry, but they don't even have. And they don't even seem like they have. I mean, I get they checking your temperature when you come in, and and some people are practicing, and they're practicing social distancing from what they tell us. Obviously, we're not in every single practice, but look, it shouldn't be going on, man.
Yeah, football in particular, just because of. Yeah, and I know you feel that way. Yeah. I know you feel that way. Each week, though, when we do this, and as the NBA and hockey gets going, I'm going to continue to give them the credit until something major happens. Mm-hmm. Another week is gone by, and once again, 0 positive tests for both leagues. So I'm going to continue to give those two leagues props until one of them slips up or both of them slips up. Mm-hmm. Baseball, not so much. I'm not giving them no props right now. And you still got players still on the St. Louis Cardinals testing positive for COVID-19. And Maestro, get this. They've played 5 games this season as a team. There are teams that have already played 17 games this season so far. Yeah, and they've already canceled their series against the Tigers this week, and it looks like they might cancel their series against the Cubs this coming weekend. So now you're talking about one franchise that's missing all these games, and you're going to be at a point to where it's just not going to be fair. And you're going to have to stop play league-wide.
Yeah.
How could you keep the league going, and you got this one team, and this isn't some expansion franchise. This is the Cardinals. This is one of their premier franchises. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't keep a season going without the Cardinals in it. You just can't do that. So I don't know what baseball is going to do about that, because now you got this playoff situation going, and the rules, they're kind of measuring records by winning percentage, which is not going to be fair at the end of the day. So let's say, and I'll use the Marlins as an example. example. So when the Marlins had their breakout, I think they were like 2-1 or something like that. But let's say they have another breakout, right? And they're like, I think they're like 7-3 or something like that. So they're 7-3, right? They got a higher winning percentage, and they stop play for 2-3 weeks, and it's the end of the season, and you're trying to determine seeding. So because the Marlins got a larger winning percentage, you're gonna put them in the playoffs when they haven't played as many games as these other teams have played.
Yeah.
Like something about that it's not right.
They shouldn't be playing baseball.
It's just not right. They shouldn't be playing baseball. And I'm just talking like this situation here. If I'm talking the Cardinals and their winning percentage is to the point where they would get in, I would just be like, nah, you're not getting in. You need to play a certain amount of games to qualify. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't get in just because your winning percentage was at about 15-20% of the season played. You can't allow a team to do that. So I think baseball at some point is going to have to answer for this. That something's going to happen. I don't know that they're going to finish this thing.
Yeah,
I really don't know that they're going to finish it, bro.
Yeah, they shouldn't. Getting to the NBA. Draymond Green was fined $50,000 for saying essentially Devin Booker needs to not be in Phoenix. Should he had words like tampering got involved? I don't have the full story. Draymond Green, if I'm not mistaken, was on a television show.
He was on TNT.
Oh, so he was on TNT. Okay, I didn't know for certain, but he was on he was on TNT. Where he said it. Obviously, they have a lot of athletes come in and do the show with him. Your thoughts. Well, let's be clear. He shouldn't have said it, but it's like, all right, if I'm Draymond Green, and no disrespect to the NBA, because it's not that they weren't wrong for finding them, but it's like, all right, nigga, I'll eat that. I'm gonna talk my shit.
Yeah, I got a couple problems with this. With what Draymond said, I got a problem with that, and the league was right to fine him the $50,000, especially when you're a current player. You're a current player, and you're talking about another player should not be on a particular team. If he was a part of the media, and I understand that, I guess in that role that he played on TV that night, he was media, but cats know this dude still played for the Warriors. So, yes, there's tampering involved there. So, NBA was right in that aspect. Draymond was wrong for saying that, number one. And here's the other problem that I have with this. And I want to give the Suns props here. They just played the Sixers an hour ago. They're 7-0 in the bubble right now. The Phoenix Suns are 7-0, and we've just discarded everything about them, coming into the bubble. And, everybody was on the Pelicans. Everybody talked about Portland. I even brought up don't sleep on the Spurs. Some people was on Memphis a little bit. But the Suns were at the very bottom of that list of teams out west going for that 8th spot.
Yep.
And all they're doing is just racking off win after win after win.
Yep.
Monty Williams, I got to give Monty Williams props. I got to give Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and those guys, I got to give them niggas props. They coming into the bubble. They winning games. They beating the opponent. They trying to get into this 8-9 playoff thing. Did you know about that? There was a play-in game for the 8th seed. Did you know that?
There's a play-in game for the 8th seed.
Yeah.
Tell me, no.
So here's how this works. So if you're the 8th seed, like let's right now, Memphis still right now, which is really surprising to me the way they've lost games.
Yeah, they've been trash.
I'm surprised they haven't been unseated yet, but so they're number 8 right now, and then at the 9 spot right now you got Portland.
Yeah.
So if the season were to end right now, Portland would have to play Memphis in a play-in game to get the number 8 spot.
Okay.
But here's how this works. Memphis has to beat Portland once to clinch the 8th spot. Portland has to beat Memphis twice to get the 8th spot. Mm-hmm. So that's how that's working now. And I think if it comes down to where there's like a 3-way or a 4-way tie for that 9 spot, or even the 8 for that matter, then I think there's going to be a couple of play-in games, which I if you ask me, I think it's ridiculous. I think whoever gets the 8th seed, just make them the 8th seed. I understand that it might be I guess a ploy to get more games in because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I just think the whole playoff thing, for the 8th spot is just a little silly to me.
No, I mean, unnecessary for certain, but I'm with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely unnecessary, but look, if that gives the Phoenix Suns a chance to get into the playoffs,
right?
Based off how they played in the bubble, then I'm with it. Because if
they would have deserved it,
exactly. And if Portland is truly the better team, or if Memphis is truly the better team, then they'll beat Phoenix. Let's be clear. Much like the emergence of T.J. Warren in the bubble, I think this is the Phoenix Suns being a little more comfortable without fans, and this is one of the little quirky things that happens when you don't have a home and away game per se.
Something that I was talking about a few weeks ago when we were talking about, are there going to be some surprise as far as who can knock off the Lakers or the Clippers or the Bucks for that matter? One of those quirky things. Yeah. No fans in the stands, no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. And let's be clear, and I've said it for years, Phoenix has always had talented players on their team. They just haven't been able to put it together for however, but since
it's been 10 years.
Yeah, but I'm talking about specifically in the past, let's say 3 years with Booker,
right.
Ayton. I know Ayton just came in. There was another young guy that was
Jackson or Johnson.
Josh Johnson. Yeah. Him, like they had been drafting a lot of young boys, and it was like, okay.
T.J. Warren.
Yeah, right.
T.J. Warren was on the Suns before he got traded.
They had been putting together putting together ballers, and they just hadn't been able to put it together yet. And this like free gym experience that they're playing in right now, it looks good for the young boys that can hoop. And thus, it seems like this is what's happening with Phoenix. As far as projection, I would like to see them in the playoffs just because of how they're doing in the bubble. But
right.
Do I think they're going to go far in the playoffs? No, not really.
No, of course not.
Yeah,
of course not.
I mean, even so there's that. I mean, the Portland Trailblazers are just a little more experienced when it comes to that. So. If you want to know where I'm going with it, I would like to see Portland get the 8. So,
I would too. I want to see Portland get the 8 because I think they can challenge the Lakers more than the Suns can challenge the Lakers.
Right. But then I would like to see the Suns because I like what the Suns are doing. So,
Right.
But if you pull in my arm, I'm pulling for the Portland Trailblazers to make it.
And I want to see Melo back in the playoffs.
Sure. That don't make me. I'm not excited about that, but I will say that he's been he got Bama's apologizing to him on TV now. So
Max Kellerman came out and was like, I called him a washed up bum. I shouldn't have did that.
Yeah,
but they kind of tie the Sun to the whole Draymond thing. The other reason why I wasn't too happy about what he said was because this team is finally putting together a stretch of basketball despite the circumstances to where, okay, this team's starting to come around some noise. Monty Williams doing a great job. In that realm, if I'm Monty Williams or really anybody or a Suns fan or really just a casual fan that just, likes to watch basketball, I don't want to see Devin Booker leave Phoenix if things are starting to fall in place for the Suns, and we're just going to have to see how it continues, beyond this point.
What if he was going to the Knicks?
What's that?
What if he was going to the Knicks?
Oh, I'll take him on the Knicks. No question.
But you'd be happy about him leaving the Suns if you knew he was going to the Knicks.
Oh, of course I would be. But I'm just saying in a sense that if you're Draymond Green and you're calling for a player to, leave a squad, let's give the squad a chance. I mean, this is Monty Williams' first season. Let this guy come in with these young players and try to develop something. Right now, they're doing that even under these dire conditions.
Do you think Devin Booker's a top 15 player?
Yes.
Yeah, I do too. I think I don't disagree with what Draymond said. I think he was speaking his opinion, and I think he's entitled to the opinion.
Of course he's entitled. Of course.
I mean, but not just because everybody's entitled to opinion. He's entitled to his opinion because he's a experienced basketball player. Like, he knows how it works he understands the inner workings of the teams, the league.
Sure.
If Devin Booker can't create a big market then he deserves to go somewhere where there's a big market, where he's paid, where he's regarded as, where he's regarded in the media for his skill. Everybody knows that Devin Booker can play, but he's not put on that pedestal per se because of where he plays and because of the success of the team.
The results of the team,
Yeah, so in that thought alone, I don't have a problem with what Draymond Green said. Is it tampering and all those things? And should he have deserved to be fined? Yes. No. But I don't think he said anything wrong per se. I mean, hell, Stephen A's been saying it every single time Devin Booker's name is mentioned. So,
Sure. I would agree with all those guys prior to the start of the restart. But what I've seen of 7 games from these guys, okay, they're starting to put something together. I know it's, late in the season. I know there's still a outside chance that they make the playoffs, but they're starting to build something here with this streak. I would personally, as just a general fan of the NBA, like to continue for that to happen. With Devin Booker on the squad, with DeAndre Ayton there, with a bunch of young pieces around, I would like just for the sake of Monty Williams finally coming in there first year, give the guy a chance to build with this same talent. Yeah, and if it don't work in 3 years, then do what y'all got to do.
Yeah, I'm not gonna overreact to them winning 7 games. I'm just not.
You think it's an overreaction?
I think it's an overreaction for him because they won 7 games in a row at a restart when they were one of the worst teams in the league before this even started.
So, question: should Monty Williams be under fire?
No. I'm just I'm just saying in regards to Devin Booker's trajectory, his future per se, his needing to leave Phoenix didn't change because they won 7 games in a row in the bubble for me.
No, of course, and it might be because he doesn't want to play in Phoenix. If it's his choice,
I'm just saying you spoke to let's let them build something. Let's look. They've had a decent young roster for about 3 years. Now I get this is Monty Williams' first year, but look, you only got so many years to play in the NBA and be at your peak. Devin Booker has been here for been in the league for at least 3 years.
Right.
It's time for him to start getting, if he be one of those guys, in the league, it's about time for him to start finding where that's going to happen at. We don't got another 3 years in Devin Booker's time. I don't feel like he has another 3 years to be sitting around hoping Phoenix is going to get it together. We don't know that they're going to get it together in 3 years.
We don't know. We don't know. You're absolutely right about that. But I think given what they've done,
but they've only done it for a week though, Trey.
What's that?
They've only done it for a week.
Sure. They've done it for a week. 7-0 is, I mean, pretty good given the teams they played. Now, you want to say some teams are just like, all right, we're stuck in the 3 spot, we're stuck in the 6 spot, so we're not going to play as hard. Okay, you know that's fine because there's teams in the bubble that are actually doing that. You know, i.e. the Lakers, they're not playing as hard. They got the number 1 seed locked up. The Bucks aren't playing hard. You know, there's teams that feel like there's really not much more they can do to better their standing. So sure, are the Suns taking advantage of that? Absolutely, they're taking advantage of that. I'm just saying I would like to see that come to fruition whenever things start to get back to normal. If they do, 2021.
So do you believe that they'll be good? Could they be a playoff team in 2021? Based on what you've seen in a week?
Based on what I've seen over 7 games, I'm not going to say a week because it's been 2 weeks, but based on what I've seen over 7 games, I believe that they could be a playoff team next year. I think that this bubble has given some of these players some confidence. Yeah, and I think that carries a long way. You never know.
Sure, of course you never know. But
I've said that, Maestro. I've said that about the baseball teams that are projected to suck, but these teams that suck are going to make this playoffs in this 8-team playoff format, and who knows? They make the playoffs, that builds confidence. They make a run that carries momentum into the next season. I've said that about baseball. Why not for the NBA? Who knows?
Yeah, I hear you, but I don't agree with you. So right now, who's in your mind playing the best basketball individually? We talked
individually.
We talked about Devin Booker. We talked about T.J. Warren briefly. Who in your mind is playing the best ball?
Right now for me is T.J. Warren, and I understand he got shut down by Jimmy Butler again. That's they had a little spat earlier in the season before the shutdown. Yeah. And they played the Heat again yesterday or the day before, and Jimmy, shut him down to like 12 points in that game. So, but I think he's come out and
he had a 53-point and he had another 40-point to follow it, and then
53 or 40, and then a couple of 30-point games. A couple 30-point games.
Meanwhile, Luka Doncic is damn near averaging a triple-double in the bubble.
That's a good choice.
Yeah. For me, it's Luka Doncic. It's Luka Doncic.
That's a good choice
for me. If you're just talking about individual, it's Luka Doncic. I was going to say Damien Lillard.
Didn't he have like 19 assists one night?
Like 2 nights ago, he had like 19 assists. A couple of nights before that, he had like 20 rebounds. It's like this dude is going crazy right now, and he's still averaging like I'm sure he's averaging over 26,
almost a triple double.
Yeah, like almost he's a triple double. Averaging a triple double right now, and he's not only doing that, but he's getting like 19 assists, like 20 boards, and then still scoring like 25, 30 points. Like it's he on another level right now. He's on another level right now.
I can't front. He's in his bag right now. I can't front.
He's on another level right now. My last topic. Well, let me ask you: do you have anything else before I get into my last topic? My last topic is going to be may be a little lengthy.
I just got a couple things that's real short. Ben Simmons is out for the rest of the bubble. Yeah. So the Sixers are going to get bounced in the first round, and I'm calling it. Sixers are going to get knocked out in the first round by Boston if that's the matchup. And then I just want to give a rest in peace shout out to James Kamala Harris, who was a former pro wrestler, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not a wrestling guy, so I never really heard of the cat. Yeah, never heard of the cat, but old school cats talk about him, who watch wrestling faithfully. I've seen a lot of posts about him, a lot of tweets about him in the last few days. So just want to say rest in peace to that brother, African American wrestler.
For sure. For sure. Rest in peace. Let me say what's up to Deacon the Blues Man, Dale, BS3 Radio in the chat room. And if I didn't say what's up to Big Kev, what's going on, Big Kev 303 in Denver. And by the way, the Nuggets look scary right now.
Yeah, Michael, what's his name? Michael Porter Jr.?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamal Murray and
Bobo,
Jokic.
Even though Bobo got yammed on by Nurkic last week. But Bobo is there. Jamal Murray, obviously,
They're deep. They're deep.
Yeah.
They could go about 8-9 deep. That's a scary team to watch.
That's a scary team right now. That's a scary team.
How many games you think if it's Blazers Lakers in the first round? How many games you giving the Blazers? I'm just curious.
2, maybe 3. Here's the thing. I hadn't, last week when you asked me who was the team to beat, and I told you the Lakers, but I prefaced it with I hadn't really been paying attention to the NBA. I took some time to pay a little bit more attention to the NBA this week, and
proud of you, brother.
Yeah, thank you, man. I've been.
I know you don't want players to play right now, and I understand your concerns. I'll just say again, 0 positive tests. As long as they keep doing that, I'm gonna keep giving them props until they do something silly.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
The Lakers don't look great right now, man.
I agree with that.
They don't look great. And with that being said, man, I think I may be willing at this point, and obviously it's LeBron James, it's Anthony Davis, Kuzma, if you really want to pull him into the fold. They could obviously bounce back and right the ship, but I didn't realize Rajon Rondo wasn't playing. That affects ball handling.
Yeah, I was gonna say him being out for, really another 6 weeks, maybe.
Yeah,
you don't have a ball handler other than LeBron James
and Avery Bradley. Avery Bradley has been missed defensively. He just has.
Yep. J.R. Smith can't accommodate for that defensively.
Yeah, and I remember when J.R. Smith got picked up. I was like, all right, he should be able to, he won't be Avery Bradley defensively, but he can give you something, and he'll probably make it up offensively. And nah, he hasn't. So with that being said, I'm willing to backtrack that comment now that I'm a little more informed. I'm looking at the Clippers and I'm looking at Denver in the West.
Conference finals?
Not specifically those two teams in the conference finals, like them playing each other, but I'm just saying coming out of the West period, I'm looking at those two teams right now. I want to put Dallas in it so bad, but they're just not ready yet team wise.
They're young, man. Yeah, and they're not good defensively.
Yeah, they're just not ready yet. And I'll acknowledge that. But Denver, this is that kind of season, I believe, for Denver. They might be
scared.
They might be primed for a asterisk championship this year. Just throwing that out there. But my last topic was about Damien Lillard. Do you consider Damien Lillard to be a clutch player?
Yes.
Me too.
100%.
100%. And so I'm not sure if you've been keeping up. I've been actually kind of getting hip to this Damien Lillard versus Skip Bayless conversation actually today as I got off of work. And
I didn't investigate it any further, but I did see a tweet from Skip saying that he was going to respond to Dame, and I guess Dame said something about Skip or something like that.
Yeah, so the short of it is that after Damian Lillard missed the 2 free throws against the Clippers, your boy Skip went off on him. Basically, he not clutch. When has he ever been clutch? Bob. Damien Lillard obviously didn't like the comments. To the point where Stephen A. Smith was calling Skip, saying, "Look, Dame wants your number. Is it okay if I give it to him?" Dame this is per Skip's account. Dame was texting them kind of crazy on the text message, and then Skip was like, all right, well, Skip called them, and they had a conversation basically, and Skip flat out asked him, why do you feel like, you that guy? And he was like, and Damian Lillard's response was, I'm one of the most clutch players in the game right now. And then Skip response was, and this is his account, he asked Damian Lillard, well, what have you done? What have you won? And
did Skip not see him send the Thunder home last year?
Okay,
in the fashion that he did.
But then Trey, and that's the first thing I said too in response. But then he did that to get swept by the Warriors without Kevin Durant.
Well, that happened around later. They also beat the Nuggets in 7 games.
But
before they got to the Warriors series.
Yeah, but they still. Look, and again, my answer is yes. He's clutch, but he did get swept by the Warriors without Kevin Durant, and the way he's mapped it out make perfect sense to me. It's like at this point, it's McCollum and Lillard versus Clay and Steph Curry. I would give the edge to Klay Thompson, but I would then definitely give the edge to Damian Lillard over Steph Curry.
Sure, but in rebuttal to, and it's really not so much in rebuttal to what you're saying. It's more rebuttal to what Skip is saying. James Harden couldn't beat the Warriors without KD either. In the previous round, when he went out and they had a couple of games to get it done and he couldn't do it.
Well, do we call
so is James Harden? So is James Harden not clutch?
Well, hey, are you ready for a conversation? I don't believe that
ready.
James Harden is clutch. I believe he's a good player.
Okay.
I remember that. I remember that San Antonio Spurs series. When
Danny Green was giving it to him. Yeah, I remember.
And James Harden was shut the hell down. I remember that series. I remember that game.
Kawhi wasn't playing. I remember.
Yeah. So I don't.
I guess for me, I've never heard anybody say that James Harden wasn't a clutch player. I guess let me phrase it that way. I haven't heard a lot of people say that he was clutch. And I agree with you. I don't believe he's clutch. I just never heard anybody say that he wasn't.
Yeah, right. Because when you're that good scoring, you kind of let him have it. But then the conversation is that when you score that well, when you're that that transcendent player that you are in the regular season, and you still haven't made it to a conference finals, it's like, well,
he's made it to a conference.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. He has, but it's like, well, is he really? Is he really? And I get it that he's had to deal with the Golden State Warriors much like Damian Lillard has, but getting back to Damian Lillard, to be swept on a Kevin Durantless Warriors team is to say it's short is not acceptable. And it's not like it's not like he showed up. Damian Lillard, I'm speaking of.
Well, I'll say this because I remember that series pretty well. I do remember they had some big leads in just about every one of those games, and they kind of blew all those games in terms of the leads and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I guess I could side with Skip in the sense that the way they played them early in those games, it looked like Portland was about to be bound for the finals, and then they let those leads slip away in all those games, and you could say, all right, it's Golden State. This is what Golden State does. Yeah. Even without Kevin Durant. They still had Draymond there. I mean who on the Blazers was going to match up with Draymond? Nurkic wasn't there.
Okay, but it's not like Draymond was making had an amazing series that he didn't have an amazing series.
Yeah, I don't remember how he did that series, but I'm
just
talking about
series. He didn't have anything that was painstakingly bad, but he certainly didn't have like an amazing series where he kind of he kind of made you forget that Kevin Durant wasn't there, or he
Right.
or that he even filled Kevin Durant's slack. He just played his role like he normally does.
Right.
And
when Draymond, I believe, wants to assert himself in terms of passing the ball, getting people involved, he can do that.
Sure.
I just don't know how effective he was that series. But if I had to pick who had the third best player on each side, the Warriors had their third guy. I don't think the Blazers had their third guy in that series.
Okay.
And whoever you want to pick on the Blazers as the third best player, they're not going to stack up to Draymond.
Was that the Rodney Hood? Was that the Rodney Hood Blazers?
You know what? It might have been the Rodney Hood Blazers.
I would put Rodney. I mean, obviously not head to head. You wouldn't put Rodney Hood at power forward, but if that was the Rodney Hood Blazers, Rodney Hood is a viable matchup against Draymond Green.
He's a viable third player. I just don't think Rodney Hood will affect a game or a series the way Draymond can affect the game or a series, because I think Draymond can do a lot more versatility than Rodney Hood can.
That's a fact. But if you ask me night in, night out, that Rodney Hood versus that Draymond Green, who would score more points, I would give it to Rodney Hood.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
He can score. Rodney Hood can score.
But getting back to Damien Lillard, obviously he, after that Clippers game and the backlash for Paul George and bitter Paul George. Let me be clear, bitter Paul George and
he's bitter.
For a fact. And Patrick Beverly, he goes out and scores 51 against the Sixers. But that team didn't have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid in the game, and the Blazers almost lost that game. So I'll say this in regards to Skip's comments.
Right.
Skip Bayless has a point. Now, I still say that Damian Lillard is clutch, but this is certainly a time, no more than ever, that I feel like Damian Lillard needs to take the next step, whatever that and when I say next step, and I know it's not going to happen, it's time for him to push them to the finals. I'm not asking him to win the championship. I'm not asking him, but it's time for him to do something more than a game winner. And and let's be clear, he's that guy. I
was gonna say, that dude ain't scared.
Yeah. But I'm gonna need him.
He's a killer. I'm
gonna need Damian Lillard to shut Skip Bayless up. I'm gonna need him to take his. I'm not saying necessarily this year, but I'm gonna need him to get this team to the finals. I'm gonna need him to will this team to the finals, because it's the difference. It's going to be the difference when he gets older between us saying Damian Lillard is just a good point guard to Damian Lillard was that dude. It's going to have to happen.
And I think on the flip side for Skip, I've noticed this, and I spend a lot of time on Twitter. Skip has a tendency to want to lure athletes to the show. And I'm not saying I have a problem with that. I'm not saying that, he shouldn't do that. Obviously, Skip says things that are hot topics that, cause conversation. Skip Bayless has a tendency of luring players to come on the show. I mean, like he did that with Chris Bosh a few years ago when he was with the Heat. He did that to a few other players in the league. It's always that ploy. Hey, if you want to sit down at the table and you want to discuss, come on the show. That's usually how, Skip rolls. So he might have a point to what you're saying, and, to what he said about Damian Lillard. But I never discount the fact that Skip has a way of, trying to get under the athlete's skin a little bit. And it's always, hey, I got a platform. You want to come on and... No, I don't think he's lying.
I don't mean lying. You think he doesn't mean what he's saying? You think he just trolling Damian Lillard?
I guess in this case, I think he is trolling him a little bit because... you said that he says he's not clutch. That's a lie because Dame Lillard has hit clutch shots throughout his career. I mean,
well, hold on. Let me cut you off.
What's
off. So he brought out stats, and he essentially and I don't remember the numbers verbatim, but I remember him. But he said in the past 3 years, I want to say, basically he was shooting 35% from the field and 26%, some around. He was shooting mid 20s for his 3-pointers, and he was shooting low 30s field goal percentage in the fourth quarter in the playoffs. Now, obviously, in his career, he has hit big shots, but if the measuring stick for what is clutch is more than just hitting a game winner, and it's getting the buckets when the buckets need to be gotten, percentage wise, you could argue that he's not clutch. Again, that's not Maestro's argument, but the argument could be made if you base it on numbers that he is not as clutch as he thinks he is.
So going back to the Nuggets series last year, Game 7, Dame didn't have a good to great Game 7. It was CJ really doing all the scoring down the stretch in that game. So if that's a game that Skip is pointing to justify the stats, then okay, you got me there. Because even just put the stats aside, all you had to do was watch the game and understand that Dame had an off game. Yeah, he wasn't playing well in that Game 7. I mean, CJ won that series for them in Game 7. So, but you got to point to some other games or some other situations. I could point to when he closed out the Rockets in 2014. You know, I could point out when they beat the Clippers in the first round a few years ago. Granted, Blake and CP3 got hurt, but they took advantage of that and they was able to get to the next round. Dame Lillard, and I get this isn't about experience, but Dame Lillard has been through the playoff grind. Yeah. I think at this point in his career, and I think you're onto something to where he's got to take something up to the next level. It might just be as simple as he can't have a Game 7 versus Nuggets moment. Like he can't have that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I think if he avoids that, then I think he can get the Blazers at some point to a finals.
Yeah, I think that's the next step. He got to get into a finals. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I do know when. Next 3 years.
This might be the next step. This might be the best opportunity right now. I mean,
yeah, with the Lakers playing the way they playing, yeah, maybe.
With the and the bubble situation. I mean, you don't know. Gym. Right. Ain't no fans in there. You know, these role players got no pressure. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They got their big boy back. You know, Melo's playing well. That dude, Trent Jr. coming off the bench.
Trent, yeah, shout out to him.
Gary Trent, yeah, he's been, playing well for them.
Whiteside has not been getting a lot of burn.
He hasn't, but if the Blazers want to go where they want to go, they gonna need Whiteside, in my opinion. They gonna need that defense at some point.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I get Nurkic can do that, but you put him and Whiteside on the floor at the same time? What?
I don't know. I just wonder about that. It's got to be a reason. They gave Whiteside money. It's got to be a reason that he's not playing. Right. So just something to look out for.
Right. I would try putting those two guys on the floor at the same time.
Yeah, I wonder why he hasn't been on the floor though.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Hey man, you got anything else?
I'm good, man.
Hey, look, man, we record time today. Shout out to everybody listening. Trey, we appreciate you, man. I don't say it enough, man. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you too, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate everybody listening in the chat room. Shout out to all of y'all. I see Key, see Professor X of the X Squad. We see you. We appreciate you for joining in the chat room. To everybody that's going to listen on demand, we appreciate you. Make sure you follow the podcast at barbershopsportstalkpodcast.com. Follow me at Maestro Styles. You can follow Trey at Trey Frazier. On Twitter, you can follow me at Maestro Styles. Follow Trey at Barbershop SPOR2. Make sure you like the Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page for Trey Frazier, Maestro Styles. We need to arrest Breonna Taylor's killers.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.